today. I'm really going to thank Sean Welsh of Vet SOS Podcast for introducing me to military veterans who have done amazing things in the community. And my guest today is Michael Schindler. He's the founder of a veteran nonprofit. Michael, what is that veteran nonprofit? And let's go into it because really, I think Operation Family, you were telling me, and how it started. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so Operation Military Family was actually one of my best buddies deployed to Afghanistan. And I ended up writing a book that was endorsed by General Tommy Franks. And that book went national, sold a lot of copies. And so we formed an organization around it solely with the focus of helping our military and veteran families thrive after we get out of service. That was the sole purpose of it. What we spend our time doing is we really work on mission, purpose, identity after the uniform comes off and getting our brothers and sisters into viable, stable careers.
I love it. It's great organization, and you said you've been doing it for years. So have you seen? Tell me the growth from the beginning to now.
Yeah. We were a bootstrap nonprofit. I was a CEO of a startup in the Seattle area at the time when we founded it. I think it was super excited. First year we did $10,000. We were really bootstrapping that effort. And today we've got 8 employees and we do a little over $1 million in that nonprofit. We stay relatively small. We devote back into trainings and events that will really help our veterans thrive and their families for that matter.
So from the bootstrap to where do you think the biggest growth has come from? The work, because a lot of foundations really have that challenge of staying around as long as you have already.
Yeah, I think that growth I can attribute to the fact that those of us have my number two in the company. She's been with me 12 years. And I think that's just our ability to see around corners, our ability to adapt to marketplace when we need to, and grit. Just saying, hey, listen, this mission is so important. This is God's mission for our life. If we're doing it, God will provide. And that has always been the case. But Neil, there have been times that I have paid my staff and not paid me. It's this desire to be sure that those of us who serve have somebody who is dedicated to their service regardless of the money.
So tell me how you help families. How does it
Yeah,
all
it's
start through the money? Because that's the biggest thing in a foundation. It's like a business.
yeah,
Here's who we serve. Well, what do we do to serve those people?
yeah, it really is. So I own a for-profit company. I own a film studio out of Hollywood. And what we noticed is what people really need is not this general practice of how to transition and get out of the military. It's really a customized approach because everybody's experience is different. So we spend our time one-on-one with those who enroll in our program, which is entirely free. And we spend anywhere from 8 to 15 sessions with them one-on-one through Zoom, working on a very holistic approach on how to identify who they are when that uniform comes off and what industries are best fit, best qualified, best culture fit opportunities for them. So it really is like one-on-one coaching, like what we've done in the corporate sector.
Wow. And it's gotta feel great to see the growth of people from that beginning when they transition and the challenges they go
Yeah.
through to then later. Yeah.
Yes, Neil, I love it. I got to tell you, for people to have this transformation, just think about it. When you're in the military assigns mission, purpose, identity, set your purpose, save the world from bad people. Your mission is commander's intent. Your identity is that rank and uniform. And then when you get out, all of that disappears. And many of our brothers and sisters, the transition period is truly one of the most anxious periods of their life, more so than combat, because you trained for that. You don't necessarily train for this unknowing transition, or you might know that the transition's happening, but the marketplace is shifting so fast. And so now it really becomes, who am I when that uniform comes off? What am I supposed to be doing? And why am I even here? And those three areas are really what we focus on, is helping people identify that for their life.
And how do the people find out? Like, how are people finding out about what you do?
We've been doing it, this program, we've been doing it close to 10 years, close to a decade just in this one program. A lot of it is word of mouth now, Neil. A lot of it is we've got a digital effort. People will sometimes see some of the stuff that we post on social media, but it's the testimonials that go out when people see those. And, the veteran culture is very close. And so if people go through it and have a great experience, they refer their friends, and we take them on and we say, listen, we are as committed to this process as you will be committed to this process. So if they commit, we commit, and we rarely say no.
And that's great. And what do you think your ultimate goal for the foundation, even though you've been doing it for so many years already?
I'd love to have an endowment of $10 million that would sustain it for probably beyond me, to be honest with you. That would be the goal. There was decades ago, I think it was actually about 15 years ago, I was on a radio show and they said, "What's your vision?" And I said, they said, "How much do you want to make, Neil?" And I blurted this out. I was never prepared for this question. I was thinking in my startup brain. I said, $100 million. And the lady's like, $100 million. And I said, yeah, a dollar for every life we impact. And that's the culture of our organization is we don't necessarily look at the money, we look at the impact. And so for us, if we can influence 100 million lives in some capacity, right? Whether it's through a ripple effect or somebody passing it on or somebody just being a source of joy or somebody that inspires somebody else to do something different with their life after they get out and not fall victim to substance use or homelessness or PTS, that they can get the help for that. That's really what we're committed to as an organization.
And then you got still a lot more work to get to that point, right?
We do. We got a
100
ton
million.
more work, brother. We got a ton more work for sure. Yeah.
So tell me about your for-profit arm of the
Yeah,
business.
I teamed up with a three-time Emmy Award-winning producer about 6 years ago. We started developing some films together, certainly on AI, artificial intelligence, and also using military methodologies to move people from stuck to unstuck that is streaming on Amazon and probably about 10 other platforms. We co-own a film studio out of there. He's been in the industry for 30 years. If I said his name, most people would recognize it. And we have an executive leadership company. And we really focus on helping leaders move from like human 1.0 to human 3.0. Like, how do you elevate the mindset? How do you move people from a point of being stuck to the next level of what we call the rise of humanness, really pulling out people's human spirit, human value? And that has been a passion project of mine for about 5 years now, which is probably one of the best startups I ever invested in.
Fantastic. And you said it involves AI. How does it involve AI?
Yeah, so we're developing this whole companion tool AI that's really focused on, and it's got an HR component to it, but really taking people from where they're at. And the companion is built on military methodologies, on what we use in the military to move people's mindsets forward and helping them elevate every step. So creating micro wins on a daily basis, creating a trusted source of information based on neuroscience, military methodology, proven industry. And that is launching here very soon. We'll be part of Human Tech Week that's in San Francisco here in June, previewing that product. But again, we know that everybody spends time on their phones, right? They talk
Yeah.
to their phones. We know that people trust AI more than they
Yeah.
trust us therapists, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, but you don't know where that advice is coming from. And
So
we
you
have,
need to have it basically off of the taking all the information like other platforms and things like that. That's fantastic.
correct.
So the movie thing is so you have how many startups do you have?
I've been a part of 5 different startups, but it's VUCA Max, what we call VUCA Max. That's my only startup at this point. And then the philanthropic effort where I spend probably about 60% of my time
I
in the
see, but you have
like,
somebody that's a film studio that has it that's partnering with you with this technology then.
yeah, I co-own the film studio, correct. Yes,
Oh,
and
so that's another
we're
business,
developing.
right? Or it's all the same.
Yeah,
Adding,
it's under we put it under an umbrella.
I got it. Okay. All right,
Yeah, we put
fantastic.
it under an umbrella. But yeah, there's two components. One's a tech play, and then we have the film studio. So some could argue
All
that's
right,
two separate businesses, but yeah,
fantastic. All right,
yeah.
best place people can find info, Michael. Where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to itsvucamax.com if they want to learn more, or they can go to operationmilitaryfamily.com to learn more. And
Fantastic.
either one of those areas, we will help them out.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.